Welcome back, YouTubers, to another NXT review with me, Mr. Parkin, on behalf of the British Fist. If you have any thoughts on this week's edition of NXT or the next NXT TakeOver special, Our Evolution, that's coming up on December the 11th, please let me know down in the comment section below. I felt like the last few weeks of NXT have been more to the standard that I expected of the show. And this week's show, I just got back off holiday with my girlfriend in York, and all of a sudden I watched this show, and it's a weird-ass show, but it's kind of entertainingly weird. There were many segments in this show that just kind of felt weirdly placed, but were really entertaining. I'll go on to more about that when I go through each segment. And we'll start off with the opening segment as per usual, involving Tyler Breeze. And Tyler Breeze was facing none other than Marcus Louis. Yeah, Marcus Louis. And, you know, I suppose when I first saw this, I was like, oh God, why is Marcus Louis out there? What's the point? And then I kind of realised that actually, from a character standpoint, this should be the kind of character that Tyler Breeze would not like. Basically, Marcus Louis, as Tyler Breeze would describe him, is an uggo. So the two characters and the way they both are kind of mesh in a form that, you know, they could be in some kind of program if you wanted to do that. But I think it would really move Tyler Breeze too far down the card to have a feud with Marcus Louis. And they just did this one segment involving the two. And, you know, Tyler Breeze is pretty priceless during this segment. He was, like, addressing Marcus Louis and, like, almost puking and turning his face. It was quite funny. And basically, Tyler Breeze just berates him and then beats him anyway. You know, you'd think with a segment like this, it would really be designed for the heel to berate the babyface and the babyface just to go crazy, which is exactly what Marcus Louis has been doing lately. So I was kind of expecting that, but it just had Tyler Breeze beat him. So, again, a kind of weird segment. It was entertaining, but weird in the sense that it just kind of seemed to build up to nothing. You know, when Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy are on the TV screen, they're going to be entertaining, and they introduced the lovely Carmella to the ring to face none other than the most epic rematch of all time. Blue Pants! Oh, you got it right. Carmella in the epic rematch of the century against none other than Blue Pants. And I love this segment because it wasn't the match itself, you know, really who gives two shits about the match. It was about the crowd chanting for Blue Pants. It was about Colin Cassidy doing the ring theme for Blue Pants, a totally made up ring theme. Enzo Amore saying it's the biggest anticipated rematch of this time. And then Colin Cassidy doing the ring introductions and saying that Blue Pants is going to get murked. Again, who gives a shit about the match when everything else surrounding it is so fucking entertaining? And it will be a real shame, in my opinion, if Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy, and maybe even Carmella, are not involved at the next NXT TakeOver special, Our Evolution. Because whenever they're on TV, they are just so damn entertaining. Once again, another kind of weird segment that just really worked to me because of the greatness of the characters involved. Let's go, Blue Pants! Following last week's mockery of the Vaudevillains on the Lucha Dragons, we had the Lucha Dragons, I guess, responding in a winning fashion by facing Ty Dillinger and Jason Jordan. The ladies seem to love Ty Dillinger and Jason Jordan. I have a feeling it's more for Jason Jordan, but there we go. Like I said, this is pretty much an enhancement match for the Lucha Dragons, and you know, I say this about the Lucha Dragons, you know, they're high-flying, the crowd really likes them, but you can't really do much of them in a feud, because you can't really put them on the mic, you know, and you can't really do too much with the characters. You can just only really have them go out there, do some high-flying stuff, get the crowd on their feet, and then kind of go. And this is where having like a team like the Vaudevillains really does come in handy, because at least they can do a bit of promo work, and you know, they did a really funny vignette later on in the show, which you have to go and watch. I'll talk about it later. But I'm surprised we didn't see the Vaudevillains here. We haven't really had that segment yet where we've seen them eye to eye in the middle of the ring or interrupting each other's matches, etc. Yes, we've seen the Vaudevillains fucking with a smaller, much smaller version of the Lucha Dragons, and that's really been about it. But, you know, Lucha Dragons as champions, there's really only so much you can do with these guys, and it means that the other tag team really does have to do more of the work in these kind of feuds in order to make it seem like a feud. We had another vignette for Kevin Steen. It seems like he's going by the name Kevin Owens or Keith Owens. I can't remember which one it was. I didn't quite get the name on the vignette, but WWE generally, when an indie guy comes in, they ignore his history and make him out as if he's this new guy that no one's ever seen before. But it seems like WWE are doing a noble thing. Seems like they're playing it straight with Kevin Steen and his background, basically saying that he just wants to kick people's ass and he's been doing this for 14 years and he's trying to provide for his family in the best way he can, which is basically beating people up. Which pretty much sums up Kevin Steen, really, doesn't it? So at least, like I said, WWE or NXT right now are doing the honest route with the Kevin Steen character, or Kevin Owens characters, as it will be debuting on the December the 11th TakeOver Special, our Evolution. So we had a promo segment here involving Bayley and the Divas division, essentially. You had Bayley addressing the NXT universe, and this really had a lot of be a star elements about it. Be a star. Bullies are cowards. Stand up to the bullies. It kind of had a lot of that element surrounding it, which, is kind of odd, as we all know, because WWE love their Be a Star campaign, even though they love to be also very hypocritical surrounding it. But there you go. We had Bayley coming out saying that bullies are cowards, and her mum says that whenever she comes up against bullies, she needs to stand up to them. And that's exactly what she was going to do against Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch. That's until Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks came out and injured Bayley's knee with a kick. And then they kind of berated her in the ring. And I suppose, if nothing more, this should add some story to the Charlotte-Sasha Banks feud, as it was Charlotte last week that said, don't go anywhere near Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch because it will be trouble. So having this segment here, having Bayley involved with Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch, and having Charlotte not come out to the aid of her friend, so to speak, you're adding a little bit there to the Charlotte-Sasha Banks feud, as now Sasha Banks and the BFFs have now fucked up Bayley, who is Charlotte's friend. So they needed a little bit more to add to it, and they kind of did it here, I feel. Even though, like I said, the segment, once again, it just felt a bit weird. A promo segment for the women? You don't get this very often. You just don't. It just felt weird. And by far, the highlight of the night, for me, Mr. Parkin, was the Vaudevillains vignettes. Now, you've probably seen these little funny, well, I think they're quite funny, vignettes that me and NJ have been doing, portraying ourselves as the Vaudevillains. Well, this vignette the Vaudevillains did eclipses that by a mile and a half. This vignette was awesome. Basically, you had the Vaudevillains portraying themselves as heroes against those pesky Lucha Dragons that are robbing a bank. And then before they try and stop these guys, they go out and train, and you see Simon Gott's training on a fake bear, and you see fucking Aiden English doing, crunches and all that kind of shit. And then you see the Vaudevillains sneaking up on mini Lucha Dragons and putting their TNT near them like a Bugs Bunny episode. Oh, I must admit, and also at the end when it said no Lucha Dragons were harmed in the making of this video again, I had to watch this a few times just to comprehend what I've seen. If you haven't seen this vignette, I would highly recommend you do. It is incredibly creative, it is incredibly entertaining, and it pretty much sums up the tag team that is the Vaudevillains. Fan-fucking-tastic! And then after that vignette, they actually had a nice little hype video for the NXT TakeOver Our Evolution show, which involved the Vaudevillains versus the Lucha Dragons and showed the main title matches, and then they went on to have that big match they're going to have between Hideo Itami, Finn Balor, and the Ascension, which I will talk a little bit more about next. So in our main event of the evening, as advertised last week, we had Tyson Kidd challenging Finn Balor in the main event. And I did like Tyson Kidd's pre-match interview where he was talking about that tag match where his team got pinned. He's talking about how, Justin Gabriel is kind of, he's my friend, but he's kind of very prone to losing. Fact. I thought that was quite funny, and I must admit, this match between Finn Balor and Tyson Kidd, really all Tyson Kidd is good for in NXT is putting over rising NXT stars. Let's face it, he can't go after the title. There's no one else he can really feud with on there that's really going to gain too much from it. You might as well just have him put over NXT guys now, and then get to the point where you reward him for his work on NXT and what he's done, and give him a spot on the main roster, as I've been hearing WWE have done in dribs and drabs. But I'm glad that this was really more about the storyline in the match. Now, I know that this feud between Finn Balor, Hideo Itami, and the Ascension has had plenty of build so far, and it is probably, up there with one of the top matches at NXT TakeOver Our Evolution. So in my opinion, it didn't really need any more build, but I'm glad that, you know, they got a little bit more build. It got a little bit more intense. You had you had Finn Balor just about to win the match and the Ascension come out and wipe Finn Balor out, and then you have Hideo Itami coming out and all chaos ensues in the ring. You have referees in there, and God knows who else is in there. You had some NXT jobbers in there, which got them some TV time, which is good for them. And, you know, referees and all that shit, having to separate them out. It was just a chaotic way. And they even did that stupid camera shot they used to do for the fucking Sheer, which used to make everyone puke watching the TV. But it was a chaotic way to end NXT. And kind of a fitting way to end NXT, really. Because, like I said, this show was very weird. There was loads of great entertaining segments on there, but just they felt weird, but they were still entertaining at the same time. And even so, even if they weren't all that great, I still got my entertainment out of them. So it wasn't the best, most formulaic version of NXT I've seen. But goddamn, maybe it's just because I've been away on holiday and I'm in a very good mood and I've only got, you know, I'm only in one day at work and I'm seeing my best mate this weekend, etc. Maybe I'm just in a good mood, but this NXT was just really entertaining to me. It just was. And you know, maybe you call me an NXT mark, so be it. I've told you before, NXT is like my baby, and like most dads know, you always put your baby ahead of, you know, pretty much everything else in life. So there we go. So that's been another NXT review from me, Mr. Parkin. The build to, you know, the next takeover special, Our Evolution, it's going to be called. Again, I'm really looking forward to it. You've got Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville title match. You've got Sasha Banks, Charlotte, which should be a really good women's championship match. Lucha Dragons versus Vaudevillains, which should be a you know, pretty average to good NXT tag team title match. You've got Ascension versus Hideo Itami and Finn Balor. The debut of Kevin Steen or Keith Owens, Kevin Owens, one of the two. Hopefully we'll get some appearances. So you'll have Bull Dempsey versus Baron Corbin, I guess, so you'll spotlight another NXT star. Should be a really good show. I'd highly recommend, like I said, I've said this many times, if you haven't watched NXT before, at least go out of your way to watch the specials, the 2-hour specials they do live on the WWE Network, because they are pretty good. Every single show I've watched so far has been well worth my 2 hours. And if I really could be bothered to get the to be bothered to get the WWE Network, I would get it literally. I'd only be getting it for NXT. That's all I'd be getting it for. That's how good I feel the NXT specials are, and they're definitely worth the $9.99 or whatever you're going to have to pay a month if you want to do it legally, etc. So leave any comments you have on the NXT show or on the NXT TakeOver Our Evolution down in the comments section below. I'll probably do some kind of preview as well as a review next week. I'll probably just, you know, kind of sift through the show and give my preview and thoughts and who's going to win and the build, etc. next week, which will be the week before the 11th of December, which the TakeOver special will be airing. So thank you very much for watching this review. If you have, I'm really fucking tired, so I'm just going to edit this, upload it, and I'm probably just going to go to fucking bed. Thank you very much for watching. Good night.